Video commerce, it is a way of the future, and this company is about to flip retail on its head and change everything. By the way, they've got TikTok executives on their team as well. Find out now in our latest podcast. Hey everyone, this is the Dales Report, and I'm happy to be joined with the CEO of a new video commerce company called OOOO, and I'm happy to be joined with Sam Jones. Sam, how are things?
Very good. Had a great day. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Where are you, UK?
I'm in Manchester in Northern England. I'm in my apartment here that I stay in a few nights a week. So yeah, just finishing up the day here.
Greatest place, I think, in the world for music, is it not?
Well, the greatest place for football is Liverpool, which is half an hour away. And some would say that's the greatest place for music with the Beatles. But Manchester's had its fair share of musicians come out of it.
Yeah, that's
Oasis
for sure.
And many others.
Well, this is a fascinating story, and I want to get my viewers up to speed. So this is a company, it's called OOOO, and that's 5 O's. You know, I want to learn more about this. I want to learn about video commerce because, let's face it, a lot of new habits, trends that the whole world is seeing ever since that COVID hit. So let's first begin. OOOO is a company, it's a video commerce, which means you help brands and entrepreneurs share their products and services with customers through live, interactive, shoppable videos. But before we get into this on how that all works and everything, you've been an entrepreneur since you're 14. You lived in Asia, China since the age of, say, 15 years old. You're talking to me off camera about how China is years ahead of the world when it comes to video commerce. So why don't we kind of learn, like being a former Wish executive as well, where are we at with video commerce and what can we anticipate where this industry is going to go over the next, I don't even want to say 5 years, but the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Yeah, so, great to be here. I moved to Hong Kong when I was 10 years old, till I was 14. And then I moved back to where I am right now, Manchester. So I've always had kind of a Chinese business culture in my blood. I think Hong Kong is the most fertile city in the world for doing business. You know, people move very, very quick. And that was put inside me very young, at a young age. And I've always been running businesses and trying things out from my teenage years. So I moved back to Asia when I was a little bit older. I lived in 2004. I moved to Sydney, Singapore, Hong Kong, and I was there for around 12 years. Initially in the professional services industry, moving bankers from bank to bank as a headhunter. But about 9, 10 years ago, I started my first software companies, initially in data visualization and then in gaming. Then I spent a few years at Wish, a very successful US e-commerce company. And then I started this company 2 years ago. But the reason I started this company in video commerce was I had the privilege of going to China, to Shanghai, and meeting a company 5 years ago called Musical.ly.
Okay.
And Musical.ly became TikTok. I don't know if you know the story of Musical.ly, but they were in the short video, lip syncing, social space. And I would go as far as saying this is the first Chinese tech company that went global in the consumer space. And I met
that's amazing.
One of their founders. Yeah, it's amazing. And the only reason I met them was my 3 daughters were all on Musical.ly, 5 years ago. So I got the chance to meet one of the founders and see their office and see their culture. And what
did you think of the concept 5 years ago? Did you like it?
Absolutely staggering that a company, if you look at TikTok today and certainly Musical.ly then, they're doing 2 things.
Okay.
Number one, if you watch a kid on TikTok, swipe, 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 is rapid browsing. It's the highest amount of liquidity of information on you as a person of any app in history.
Yeah.
Number 2, because it's got the information from you, it has a very sophisticated recommendation engine, which is basically feeding the next video. This is why it's addictive, because it's giving you stuff that it knows you like, because you've watched a previous video 5 times. So when I entered this space of short video and live video, I started to fall in love with it because there's no way it could fail. And I'd seen my own kids get addicted to it. So I started to learn, and I guess this was the headhunter instinct in me. 5 years ago, I started to learn who were the technology providers powering the video industry in China. Now, You've got to remember in China, and this is probably the most important thing on this call, in China in the last 10 years, the consumption upgrade curve is so aggressive.
Is it?
What I mean by that is 30 or 40 years ago in the US, everyone had a fridge or a
Yep.
car or a computer.
Yep.
Nobody in China, or many parts of the population, I should say, in China, they didn't have these things 10 years ago. But for tier 2 and tier 3 cities, everybody now has a smartphone. So therefore,
I guess I was going to say,
everybody runs their life on their smartphone. So because they've got 1.5 billion people on a smartphone, you've got this incredibly sophisticated application development community. So things like payments, video services in apps, they're, I would say, 5 years ahead of the US. And I started to look at this space five years ago. So when I talk about video services, I think you look at Musical.ly and TikTok and Douyin and Kuaishou and all of these amazing companies. They've basically started out in the entertainment space, servicing videos. It's kind of what Instagram's in a way.
Of course.
But they've pivoted away into live education and live shopping. And this is where we live, live shopping. What I mean by that is I can be sat in my bedroom showing you makeup products, but you can also type questions to me. And you can also join me on a split screen video where we can talk consumer to consumer. And the other thing you can do is you can press a button where you can purchase the product I'm telling you.
Do you have an example as to whether like how that's worked, I guess, in the past? Because I know when you and I were talking off camera, there's some pretty staggering numbers.
So I'm going to show you a video of a guy called Austin. Austin used to work on the beauty counter in a department store, earning a tiny salary, very passionate about beauty products. He is now the world's #1 live streamer in China.
Okay.
So he's doing probably 400 shows a day from a very, very simple studio.
400 shows a day.
Sorry. He's doing 400 shows a year, so a little over one a day. And he's basically streaming to a few million people. And he's telling them, he's showing them products, he's talking to them about his opinions on the products. But in the corner of the screen, and you'll see it here, you can see that there's a button where you can press purchase. So, so the distance from listening to his opinion to making the purchase is as small as it can be. It's like literally one click. And he has become, in the last few years, the king of this new industry called the live stream economy. Now, he did a show last week in China that sold $1.7 billion with a B dollars worth of products.
That's crazy.
The beauty industry is worth approximately 500 billion. He did 1.7 in one live show. So this space is unimaginably huge.
So let me learn as we look back growing up. You and I are probably in our 40s. We remember the Home Shopping Network. I get the feeling when you're dealing with social influencers, it's like the person who's trying to sell you is on the buyer's side versus the company's side. Is that correct? And if so, is this the reason why you're seeing such a major shift in how retail is being reestablished? And, you know, an example of $1.7 billion, that's staggering to say the least.
Yeah, you know, my nana, who's no longer with us, she's from Liverpool. She used to say to me that she loved home shopping networks. She could watch them all day. And she said she loved them because there was no adverts. And I said to her, Nana, you don't get it. It's all an advert. And I think in the old days in TV shopping, it was just people telling you how great the vacuum cleaner was or the cleaning product was. What people are doing now in China, because there are hundreds of thousands of hosts going live through their mobile phone, it's many-to-many broadcast. And that means to stand out, to become popular, to become rich, to become a key opinion leader, authenticity is king. Honesty is king. So if you look at Austin, who's the #1 guy in this space, he will command the attention of a few million people in one live show, but they buy from him because they trust him. If he doesn't like the product, he will tell you. So I think this is the biggest shift away from the TV shopping networks. The second thing is it's two-way communication. So it's you can talk to this person in real time. And let me tell you where video shopping is going in China. They are now showing products like my t-shirt here. They would say, "Do you like this t-shirt with the high collar and it's a beautiful fabric? Would you like to order this?" And they're showing a sample. And 2,000 people or 50,000 people will buy the jersey and they'll make it tomorrow.
It's amazing.
So they're actually doing real-time commerce, not fast
So when you
fashion.
talk about the $1.7 billion that he did, what was that time frame from when to when?
12 hours in one day.
12 hours.
The
12
12-hour
hours.
show.
So when you look at a lot of, corporate brick and mortar type companies in North America, that's more sales than probably most companies would do across the entire country within a day, is it not?
Well, listen, let's think about one of the top three brands in the history of time, Nike.
Yeah.
When Nike launched, they were so dependent on the sports shop network
Yeah.
that they had to take their products to the sports shops to reach the consumer. That was how it was back then. If you launched Nike tomorrow morning, you would have it as 100% pure D2C company.
Right.
But retail is totally broken as it is today. Do you need to have 300 Foot Locker stores in the UK? Probably not. And
No.
actually, what Jack Ma is saying in China is the mall of the future, they're all studios. You probably need a few landmark stores, but you've got people broadcasting from them. So what we're trying to, and by the way, I went shopping
You know
today
what's
in one.
crazy is most brick and mortar stores, they don't even have Wi-Fi. And when you think about that, so is this how you're going to see the change where the companies then are coming to film stuff within like your studio facilities, and then they basically have to bring the product to the consumer who's sitting at home through their phone? Because like you said, especially with COVID, live shopping is becoming less and less appealing, and that's not going to change.
So let me tell you what we've done in the last. We started the company just under 2 years ago. I left Wish and I got in bed with a guy called Eric Zhang. He was
Okay.
in the first 10 employees of Musically. He's an engineer. He's based in Shanghai. We've built a Chinese technology team, engineers based in central Shanghai. And my belief was, if we're going to enter this video shopping space and bring it to the West, I cannot compromise by having developers in the UK because they don't fully get the joke in the UK. I had to go right in the way to deepest, darkest China and hire people from Tencent, Alibaba, ByteDance. So we've got the top tier engineers. And nearly 2 years ago, we started to build our own version of a video commerce app, which is called OOOO with 5 O's. And it's
Mm-hmm.
basically a platform that does two things. Firstly, it's short video and live video shopping. So every single video in here is shoppable. And it's content that's like entertaining, is like deal based, it's educational, but every video is a product you can purchase. The second thing that we built was there's a company in China called Pinduoduo,
Okay.
PDD it's called. It's 5 years old, and it's basically it's a commerce platform, but it's using gamification and viral mechanics to get users. Let me give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. So on PDD, you could go into a regular shop and buy an iPhone for $1,000, or you can go on their platform and purchase with a friend for $900 an iPhone, cheaper than anywhere in China. Now, why would you do that? Because PDD are giving you the $100 because you're bringing a friend. So they
Gotcha.
basically cut out the ad network. So live streaming cuts out the retailer because you're going seller to consumer direct through phone. Gamification, all these viral mechanics that I talk about with PDD, they cut out the ad network. So they're essentially making the community in China the ad network. Bring your
Yeah.
mates and you get a lower price.
Right.
So PDD after 5 years is valued at over $100 billion. They went from
Wow.
zero to $100 billion plus in 5 years. So in the last 2 years, we've been working like total Trojans, building a platform that does live commerce and gamification in a box. We
Wow.
launched it into the UK a year
Love this
ago.
story.
Now, to be honest with you, we've taken this platform to lots of brands and retailers in the UK. Some of the biggest and best, the Hut Group, Boohoo, JD Sports, and many others. And
What's the feedback been like?
Well, I think people are always crying out for a new surface that converts well. And the one thing is with live commerce, it converts better than images on websites. If you have a great host, a great deal, a great product that's entertaining in content, you will sell more products than you would a photograph on a website. So
Hmm.
if we can demonstrate that live commerce is more efficient than a photograph on a website, we're in business. Now,
How do you
we've got
find the right talent then? Because that's an important element as well.
Yeah, well, so on the talent, it's really interesting that there's a lot of influencers in the UK and in many other countries. It's hard to find an influencer that wants to do more than 20 minutes work a day. They take a photo of their dog or their cereal in the morning, and that's enough for them. So if you look at the Chinese winners in this space, like Austin, he came from retail, and he does like a 15-hour day planning his show, picking the products, promoting the show, running the show, doing a meeting afterwards. So you need to find people who are not scared of hard work, which is not easy in the UK, to be honest with you, in that younger generation. So we actually find the best people in live shows come from the retail industry. So whilst I say the retail industry is broken, I think if you reimagine it, you can take hundreds of people from electronics shops, wine shops, beauty shops, and you can
That's what
give
it's
them
all about.
a video stage.
Yeah.
So, but the thing I've learned in the last year, and this is really interesting. We started out as a technology company. I thought, maybe naively, if we took a killer app from China and we launched it in the UK with a Western design and a cool Western name, I'd get all the retailers and we'd sail off into the sunset. The reality is, most British retailers and commerce companies, they are not ready to do live shows. They don't have a studio available, they don't have a presenter maybe, the sound system's not great, they don't have multi-camera setup. Some
You
of them
have
don't even
this.
have Wi-Fi. So we had to go and build. In the UK today, I've got 30,000 square feet of studio space. I've got one in the center of Camden Market. One of our investors owns all of Camden Market in central London. And
Mm.
we've got in Manchester, we've taken 20,000 square feet. It's a warehouse we're converting to a 24/7 interactive video studio. I like to think it's a video mall. And what's in this studio, it's a bit like the Truman Show, to be honest. We're building all of these mini sets. One of them is a little sneaker showroom. One of them is like a catwalk. One of them is like a mini sports shop. And these are places where we can keep all of the best cameras, producers, equipment. I can get the clients a coffee. But I can say to these retailers, come to us, bring us a rail of your clothing or a few bottles of your wine, and we will make for you some live commerce, and
It's
we'll
great.
stream that out onto our platform. So, and if to be honest, all the clues are in China. If you look at the Chinese live stream economy, there are very large public companies just doing provision of live hosts, training, studios. So now we've realized the Chinese were right again, and we're building this stuff. So we've gone from thinking we were
But
a
that's
tech
great though.
company.
You
Yeah,
take a
yeah,
life
no.
experience where you used to live, you create an idea. The Western world's completely different, but let's face it, China and Asia is at least 5 years ahead of us. You've seen this huge emergence of awareness with pop shows like Squid Games and Alice in Wonderland have come to fruition. But I want to talk about the UK and the app itself. How is it streaming and trending within the country?
So we launched it in November of last year. So we're pretty much 12 months in, and we initially started in the beauty space. So we're making short videos about regular people reviewing beauty products. And then we launched our live feature, and we saw that the sales were much, much bigger for live shows because they were just interactive. And then we realized we don't want to be labeled a beauty company. So we started
Okay.
bringing in sports companies, fashion companies, electronics companies, and we went for these kind of anchor tenants of the mall. So I think our best shows are where we have a very clear USP to the show,
Okay.
meaning it's either a very deal driven show, it's the cheapest, or
Okay.
it's a launching a product, it's exclusive, or you're teaching someone something. It's educational. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do one of these three things, the sales will be good. It will convert. The death
Mm-hmm.
is in the middle. Like if you do a show where it's not particularly cheap, or it's a product everyone's seen before, or you're not teaching something, the show will be rubbish. So we've learned
It's
to
interesting.
sort of build a formula around it. And in the UK, I think we've got some of the best partners around. What's really interesting is because we've launched it and because we've built a studio and built some brands and the word's got out that what we're doing, we've been approached by some very, very large billion-dollar companies in Brazil and other parts of Europe who've said, we're
Mm.
quite interested in this Chinese video tech that you've got. How do we have it? So
Right.
we did a deal into, these are expensive businesses to run. Like the UK business, we've got 25 people in the UK, 25 in China. We've got warehouses, studios. Like it's an expensive business. But when we got inbound calls saying, can we build this technology in Brazil? We said, no problem. You can have our technology, which we've already paid for, and we can launch OOOO Brazil with you, Mr. $5 billion company, but you have to pay for the local team and you have to pay for all the marketing. So we launched in Brazil 3 months ago or something, and we've had 150,000 installs. So we're already in another market, and we're about to launch in a very large European market with another partner. So where the business is going is our local business, UK, where we're learning very quickly and building a very cool app. But I see in a few years from now, we'll have 30, 40 partners in all the major countries. Um,
Wow.
and and the coolest thing about that is the capex to enter Brazil, US, Canada, Germany, Spain, Poland, Australia, whatever it might be. The capex is very, very low, but we get a stake in that business. And
Mm.
I can tell you this, anyone listening who's thinking of going into e-commerce, big fat warning. It's hard. Like it's actually hard to make money because at this point we're all going up against Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can build at OOOO a
Yeah, but
network of partners,
here's something important to understand, though, in e-commerce. What is the number one way people want to consume content in today's day and age? It's all through video content. Video is huge. And if you can build that lifestyle through a phone or tablet, and then obviously bring people on where you're selling more so on the buyer side versus the company side, this is the way. The younger generation is definitely, and you add in COVID, uh,
yeah, yeah,
people have redefined their habits, right?
totally. So I think because we believe so much in video mobile commerce, and let's be honest, it's not a case of us taking a bet on it. We can see in China it's happening, and if it's happening in China, it's coming here. People
Yeah.
have a blind spot. You could say people are racist. I don't know which one it is, but people don't like to admit China's better at mobile. They figured it out earlier. That's the reality.
Well, what I like about this, Gary Vaynerchuk, I've heard him say 2 years ago, look, nobody wants to buy, you can't commit into Instagram now because it's like buying real estate in Manhattan. Next model that's on the play is TikTok. And here we are. So you've got former executives that have worked with TikTok. You've lived in Hong Kong. You've seen a proven business model in play, which is great. So if I'm looking at this company, I want to invest in it. I love the story concept because this is the way of the future. How do you monetize? And then you touched on a couple of people that are some of your key investors. Maybe give people an understanding as to who they are and, to further educate them on making a calculated investment decision.
Okay, so let me say this first, and then I'll tell you who the investors are. There's four ways we monetize, and each
Okay.
of these get better. So the fourth one's the best one.
Okay.
So the first way we monetize is we build a UK app, which we've done. We build studios and we sell products, and we take between 6 and 15% of the GMV. So we
Okay.
take marketplace fees, and this grows like grass initially, but this is happening already. This is the first way. The second way is we use our studios and our presenters and our cameras, and we let other companies make content in our space. And by the way, we're already doing this with TikTok. TikTok have an application called TikTok Shop. We're their partner. They're in our space most days of the week making shows that we produce for them, and we charge them for it. So this is the
Wow.
second way we make money, and we're super excited by that. The third way we make money is we enter markets using our technology, and we become a B to B to C. We say to a large commerce business, take our technology, you do all the legwork and the marketing spend, and we'll take a stake of your business. This is already
Wow.
happening in Brazil, and it's about to start happening in Europe and South Africa. The fourth way we make money, and this is our master plan, don't tell anyone, is to build a network of 50 of these partners and to sell the best products from countries like China.
Wow.
Now, I'm not talking about $2 avocado slices that you buy on e-commerce websites. I'm talking about A-grade emerging technology of a brand you've never heard of, which I can launch directly into all those 50 markets. That is
Wow.
where the margin is. So that is a network effect, and I think
And this is a proven model, all based on where you used to live. You've seen this happen before. Why aren't more companies in Asia trying to do the same thing as to what you're doing?
Oh, they are already. Like, if you speak to any serious tech investor in China, all of these companies I'm talking about, PDD, Kuaishou, people have made billions backing these companies. And if you look at PDD in
But
China,
why aren't they branching out? Are they branching outside of Asia? That's what I'm wondering.
China's 52% of global commerce. It's like they're making so much cash in China. What's
So
their
they don't need
strategy?
to.
No, they don't need
Hmm.
to, and there's a few people in the US that don't want people to go to the Chinese companies to go there. So there's headwinds for Chinese companies. I'm an overweight white guy in the UK. I'm easier to deal with, but my tech is Chinese. Our
Right.
ideas are Chinese. I'm half Chinese. The amount of time I spent over there.
Wow. Good for you. What an idea, huh? Where do you see the retail space in 5 years from now? Like, what happens to a lot of these brick and mortar stores based off of ideas like this? Because this is not going away.
I think I think obviously I'm going to say video plays a huge part, but I think if you look at amazing companies like Shopify and the
Yeah.
fact they've given this next generation of kids an e-commerce framework and an ability to make money from home, you're going to see a generation of global citizens who are sourcing great product from the West, and that puts a massive question mark on companies like LVMH.
Yeah.
Why are you spending X thousand pounds on a suitcase when you can buy it from this guy who's built his own D2C? So
Yeah.
I think there'll always be a place in retail for great organic food markets and coffee and all these experiences, but I think there's going to be an explosion of new brands, and I think they're going to express themselves through live video, through very intimate experiences. And shopping is just going to be an extension of our viewing experience. And by the way,
Think about how this is going to reinvent television as well. When you talk about sports and sports betting, people want to get involved. And there's been talk about the NFL, football league, trying to get sports betting involved and making bets while the games are going on. Can you imagine watching The Deadliest Catch and they're catching king crab? And that's something that you could buy and purchase right then and there.
yeah,
Am
it's
I
not.
understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it's not complicated to achieve it. I mean, there's a licensing issue around betting. I've had a gaming platform before, which is
Yeah.
real time gaming. But the interactive nature of what we're doing is basically overlaying some interactions on top of a video. You could have Tiger Woods on the 18th hole of Augusta, and you've got a button with three buttons saying he's going to make a three, a four, or a five, and there's a million people touching that button. That is exactly, that's marrying up, that's interactive
100%.
content. So that's definitely where it's going. And you know the guys in China, they're 5 years ahead, but look at TikTok Shop, Instagram Shop, YouTube, Pinterest, they're all coming into this space. And that's why for me, building the warehouse and being in the kind of infrastructure space, as well as having our own app,
Yeah.
is actually smart because it keeps these people close. And as much as I think Instagram, they've got a lot of users, and TikTok have got a lot of users. The the big question for these platforms, which by the way are all ad networks, the big question is how much intent is there to shop when you're on these social platforms? When I go on
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm looking to see, some photos of my family or my friends. Do I want to shop? What we're trying to build is very similar to PDD in China, is an alternative shopping environment where the intent to shop is very, very high. Now, I know that that's
Do you
working
think
in.
this is why Facebook has gone out and rebranded themselves? Because let's face it, Facebook, it seems like yesterday they just launched, but it's 15, 16 years from now. I know a lot of people are still running Facebook ads, but a concept like this, what does it do potentially for Facebook? And does it make it dated overnight?
I think with Facebook, obviously super smart guy, great company. They've obviously acquired a lot of companies and mashed all these companies together.
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, I think they are an ad network. Like, call it what you want, Meta or whatever they call it. You may as well call it an ad network because that's what it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been a customer of it, at quite a large scale. And the problem is, for someone like Facebook, if they do shopping, they will always have the conversation with a sports brand of, try our shopping feature, you'll have
Yeah.
100,000 viewers tomorrow. The next day, they're always going to have the conversation, would you like to get 1 million viewers? This is how much it's going to cost. So
Mm-hmm.
they own the customer and they charge you for it.
And
And
they collect your
people,
data.
yeah, they collect the money, they collect the data. People eventually get a little bit tired of that. And I think the future of social communities is going to be much deeper and much more silo driven. So sports communities, drinks communities. I'm not sure if we'll all be on one of these huge platforms quite in the same way we were 10 years ago. And someone once said to me, the minute your parents are on Facebook, that's the time to get off. Well, my kids, their grandparents are on it. So
It's a good
yeah,
point.
listen, I think we'll all follow China.
Yeah.
Is my view.
I 100%. Technology is the way of the future, and they've always been focused on that. I could sit here all day and talk to you. I find this story interesting, but we're going to obviously have conversations moving forward. Real quick, what stock exchange do you trade on?
We're on the TSXV. So we raised a bunch of money in the UK from Israeli and Asian and UK investors when we started just under 2 years ago. Notable investors, guys like Howard Linson, Teddy Sagi, founder of Playtech and Israeli billionaire, owns Camden Market and companies like Cape. I think he has built very large ecosystems in technology,
Wow.
and I
Okay.
think I think he's a very key person that we work with. I think I decided to go on the TSXV because I shared the vision of this company with many VCs, but a lot of them love this thesis, but they don't have the nerve to go early, in my experience. So I dealt with a lot of the guys in California and Europe and Asia, but they wanted a year's worth of data, and I said I've got 5 years of data, but it's in China, but they didn't want to do it. So actually,
Interesting.
an opportunity came up as we were speaking to the VCs to take the company public in Canada, which I never thought of before. But the people involved were very passionate about Chinese commerce trends, and they said this is a great pathway to the Nasdaq. The
Yeah.
Canadian investor community know all about Shopify,
Yeah.
and it's a great way for you to move quick. And I
What
believe it's a land grab, and you got to move at speed.
What's your ticker symbol?
OOOO. We had to drop an O. They only give you four, so we went with five. We went with four O's.
Good share
Um,
structure.
yeah. It's the management have got around 50% of the company. We when we went public in July, we raised another 15 million Canadian. So
Okay.
it's a Vancouver company that fully controls the UK entity and the Chinese entity. Yeah, we've got some wonderful investors, and my belief is that this category of live commerce, when you mix in the changing landscape in retail, the emergence of these key opinion leaders, the power of all the data that's coming out of China in this space, I think this is a story that should be told publicly. And as we unveil who some of these partners are in all these other countries and people see how quickly we can scale, I want to do that publicly with people like you.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and that
It's a hell of a story.
And the VC, I just found it stressful talking to VCs, to be honest. Like I think we have to move fast on this.
Well, it's the reason I believe in something like this is because people can understand their daily habits already with what they're doing and what they're consuming online, right? And how it's very addictive. And if you can kind of like mimic that same image, like a TikTok type world, bring in the shopping side of it all. And I know the conversations I've had even with people that go to some of the highest end shopping malls in North America. And even then they're talking about how inconvenient it is in the last 18 months. There's not really a lot of merchandise. Obviously, we're dealing with inflation because there's a low supply of various things across the world. And, just the way this world has changed, if corporations can achieve sales in a 4 to 5 hour span, that's equivalent to, say, 500-600 stores across the country, then of course they're going to cut their overhead costs. And this will just, be put into fast forward. So interesting to see how this continues to adapt here in the North American market.
There's a just to wrap it up, there's a market in China that I visited where there's a very large fishing community, and it's been there for hundreds of years. And the fishermen there are now filming live from their fishing boats, and they're selling their catch of the day. So literally, as fish are coming out the sea, they're on live, and people are at home almost like it's a game show buying the fish. And the fish is delivered to you later that day. I'll send you a video on this.
How does the fish get delivered to you later that day?
The logistics companies at the port are literally whisking all these things. I mean, the Chinese are the most efficient at this stuff. Now,
wow.
So you're buying fish as you watch it. So it's a form of entertainment. The fisherman is selling it quickly. So by the time he's pulled his boat in, he sold the whole boat. And they're calling this category ocean to plate. Now think about that. If you can sell a fish on a boat straight to a consumer, phone to phone, what can you do from a factory or a vineyard or a design studio? And where does that leave the high street or the mall?
Yeah.
Do we need 1,000 malls? Probably not.
No, we don't. Listen, let's keep in touch. Congrats, obviously, on going public recently. And it sounds like you're going to be raising more money, and great list of, obviously, investors involved in this space. But most importantly, former TikTok executives as well that are involved in this company. Big, big opportunity. Sam, I appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.